Hey everybody, this is Randy Hales, Memphis Wrestling, and you are listening to Live and in Color with Sir Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Live and in Color with Wolfie D, but this is no ordinary Live and in Color with Wolfie D. This is our 1 year birthday. We are 1 year old today. Me and my co-host Jimmy Street.
Wow. I can't believe it, bro. 1 year, man.
Give me hell yeah! 1 whole year. Imagine what a baby does in a whole year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
That's maybe a first word, so that's where we're at in comparison to human life. We're just saying first words, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want my smush cake.
What?
I want a smush cake. They always give a 1 year old his own cake to smush,
all over himself.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get that delivered to your house or something.
Yeah.
And this is going to be an awesome show. I'm excited, man. Like I said, when you came to me, around a year ago,
right,
said, let's do this. I was like, it was the furthest thing from my mind. And, I'm glad that we ventured out on this, and I'm glad the people have been responsive to it. And it's gotten me a little fired up, about the wrestling business again. So it's been a win, I think, for everybody involved. So
absolutely.
Dressing and we do have the whole year. You'd think we would have had Jamie on here by now, but due to mental challenges, we seem to make that happen. But anyway, another guest that we've been wanting to have is the booker and the guy that gave PG-13 their first shot, not created the team, but gave us that chance, believed in us. Today we got Randy Hales.
Yes. I'm so excited for this. This is one of those golden guests because, we had Lawler so early on.
Right.
I mean, one day I hope we can have him back for sure. I know he's a busy man, but, we had Lawler so early on. It was like we had Ricky Morton, we had Father Jim, we had great guests early on. It was just like bam, bam, bam. And then we had your story. So let me dial it back just for a second, Wolfie, because you touched on something that I want to touch on. There's a two-parter here. I don't want to take too long because we got Randy here. But my first thing is I had been thinking about this, honestly, for about a year before I got with you. Only it was just in thought. It was like, man, that'd be cool. I've always wanted to do a podcast. And dude, Wolfie's always saying funny stories on his Facebook. It would be awesome to try to see if we could pull a podcast out. I knew you, we were like best friends or even really friends. We were like acquaintances that met in the wrestling business.
Right.
And we, we'd been friends on social media, of course, and we kept in touch with each other through that. But really, other than a passing thought, it wasn't. So I just decided one day, it was around July of last year, early July. I called you and I said, hey, man, I sent you a message in Messenger. And I said, hey, bro, can I give you a call? Would you mind? He was like, oh, man, text easier. What you got? I'm like, this is kind of too long to say in a text. So if you have 5 seconds. And that's cool, man. I get that, brother. And so I talked to you and I said, hey, blah, 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 podcast. You want to do a podcast? You had a great story. Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear your story. Everybody would love to hear your story. And you had already said, yeah, man, let's do it. But I kept going. So that was funny. Then we started our first few podcasts and really we were just feeling each other out. It was more like a fan interviewing one of his favorite wrestlers. Then it turned into a friendship and a co-hostship and just a good time. So we really started getting the feel of each other and how things worked.
We evolved as a couple.
Yes, we did evolve as a couple.
It grew deeper.
We're the current USWA tag team champions of podcasting. So, but let me just say this. There have been times throughout this year that I have received messages, not from just one person, that have said to me, and I feel like I can say this to you. Yeah. They have said, hey, I love the podcast. It's great, but we're surprised that you're able to keep Wolfie going. And I hope, we're going to enjoy it while it lasts, essentially.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening for the time you did. But right now, I want to give a nana boo boo. We made it to year 1. So yes.
We don't want to toot our own horns, but beat down Sesame.
So yes, exactly. Hey, I found you to be very responsible and very open to many of my ideas that I've had for the show. You've let me kind of do the part that I needed to do to make it to where I could earn having your name on it. And that may sound crazy, but the point is I've worked really hard on this show. You've worked hard on this show, but the beauty of it is you are the name. So, but I work every day to earn that. So
do a great job. And I've said that more than once.
Oh, you have.
Totally. I just get on here and talk and kind of set up guests and give you ideas and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, that's all I need. That's all I need. Let me do the rest. That I'm happy to do the rest because, like you said, first you have the name, second you have the connections, 3 you have the stories, 4 you have great ideas. So we put all that together. I put a little sweat equity into it, and we get it done, man. I love it. And
thanks to everybody once again that's tuned in with us and is growing with us.
So I just want to say happy birthday, dude. This is awesome.
Birthday to us. All right, so we'll be back with Randy Hales.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, folks, we're back. And as I promised you on this 1-year birthday, again, we are 1 year old, just like a little baby infant. And we've learned to walk and we've said a couple of words. So now next year we're on to bigger and better things. But today, as I said, Randy Hales is on here. Randy, what's going on?
Hey, Wolfie, I'm going to start this program and I am going to shock you because I'm going to ask you a question and you can't answer the question unless you've been stalking my social media. You will not believe, as I do this recording right now, you will not believe where I am. You will never guess in a million years.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. Can you give me some sort of clue? Can we play a game with this?
Yes.
Because I am doing something that most wrestlers used to do all the time. You did. Jamie Dundee didn't do. Bill Dundee did do. Jerry Lawler didn't do. Jeff Jarrett does do. Where am I right now?
Oh, my God. Randy, you're either doing cocaine or you're standing on top of a bridge about to jump. Which is it?
He said Jamie didn't do.
Jamie didn't do it.
Yeah, I said Jamie didn't do this, and certainly we can get into the cocaine and off the bridge a little later on. If you want to go there, I'll go there. However, believe it or not, I am sitting in my hometown of Jonesboro, Arkansas, where my story began. I'm sitting here at the gym. Now, does that not shock you? I'm at the gym.
Oh, that gym. You're actually in the gym working out.
That's awesome.
Well, actually, I'm outside in the parking lot so I could do this. I'm thinking if I cut a wrestling promo, here's the thing. Lately, my health was a little shady, a little diabetes, different things. So I joined the gym, and then so far no weights. Just I walk 5 miles a day, and I swim laps at 5 o'clock in the morning, just trying to stay healthy. Yeah. But I know that would be shocking to you.
That's awesome.
That is very, very shocking, but that's awesome. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. Cool, man. So as I told the people, I've told a lot of my story on here, as well as we've had guests and things like that and talked about their stories. But, obviously the names that pop up during my story, you can't tell my story without saying your name. I can't do it without saying Jamie's name.
Right.
So let's just tell the people I guess where we should start would be, Jerry Jarrett brought us in and used us as undercard heels, a lot of, Shakespeare stuff, but we could work. And then we got let go. We went to Mexico, and then I came back, and I think you were the booker by that point. And then when Jamie came back, you put the straps on us over the Eliminators. What gave you the courage? Because, at first everybody was like, Randy's putting the belts on PG. What the fuck's he thinking? Seriously.
Yeah.
So what gave you the courage or I'm pretty sure I can make these guys get over? Or, where'd that come from? What did you see?
What I saw is when I wasn't with the company then, when Jerry Jarrett brought you in, I thought you guys just had it. I like personal issues type of stuff. And first of all, with Jamie, the pros and cons, and I'll tell you the pros right now, he knew what he was doing. But the main thing with Jamie, he had that history that I thought that the people would get with. And certainly with you, I think as I started to know you, and you knew the history of Memphis Wrestling, and you knew what worked here and what didn't work here, and you wanted it bad. You wanted it more than Jamie because you would do the work, and Jamie would do the work in the ring, but you absolutely wanted it bad. You were a can't miss. I'll tell the quick story a little bit. You said we could throw road stories, and I can tell you the very first road trip we made together, and I was living in Jonesboro, but I was in Hendersonville with Randy West, and we were putting the Monday Night Memory show together as far as the video stuff that we had. It was kind of the preview segments to put it together. So I was in Hendersonville. Well, Jamie called me and said, and I was back, but at that point, but I was the assistant booker. Jamie called and said, Wolfie doesn't have a ride. Can he ride with you? And I said, yes. And then he called back and he said, Wolfie's a little leery riding with the office. He said, I told him you won't care if he smoked the Fernum Durnum. And I said, no, absolutely. If he smokes the Fernum Durnum, I'll smoke the Fernum Durnum. I'll protect him. He needs to not see Joe me. So it was great. Yeah. So that trip, I would think in 30 or 40 years of making these trips, I'm sure you're remembering it too. It was in the middle of an ice storm on a Friday night when he left. To this day, it's the most dangerous trip that we turn a curve on the interstate, and there was big ass trees in the middle of the road. I mean, our life
coated in ice.
It was awful, and it ended up no electricity in Memphis. You ended up going to Tony Williams, Kid Wicked later on in Power Pro, and Spellbinder's house to stay. I went to Lawler's. I had more of an in with Lawler than you do. I don't think he liked you back then. Anyway, he liked me. And so I went to Lawler's. There was no electricity, and I swear to God, it was cold as it could be, but he had sleeping bags, and me and Stacy and Lawler slept in a sleeping bag in front of the place at Laura's house, then 5190 Walnut Grove Road.
All in the same
Memphis.
sleeping bag, Randy?
No, separate sleeping bags. I know. We both have kinky stories to tell. This is purely business. There wasn't goofy going on there at the time. I kind of regret that there was nothing goofy going on, and I tell, anyway, we won't go there. But several things just popped in my mind. The next day, so I go to TV. Wolfie gets a ride to TV. He has a ride set up to go back to Nashville later on, because I'm going back to Jonesboro. But the problem was, I guess we're too stupid to figure this out. Not only was there no electric at the motels, there was no electric at the TV show. So they had generator power, but they were wall-to-wall coverage. So it's the only show in history. Just a couple of times from the weather office, Dave would do a cut-in. So I got my Memphis Memory preview in, but we were all there for nothing. Maybe I directed Dave on the wrestling stuff, but it was a very, very dangerous trip. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. I remember. Yeah. Like you said, there was nobody on the road. I believe we got stopped once, told we shouldn't be on the road. And we told them we got to be in Memphis in the morning to do TV, and they let us on through. But I think me and you, did we take turns driving? I don't remember. I remember you driving. I don't remember if I did it. I feel like I did. But anyway, it was like just so dark. And then all of a sudden there'd be a frozen tree laid across the road, and we'd have to go around it. And a 3.5 hour trip turned into, what was it, like 7 or 8, Randy?
8. Yeah. It was terrible. And we had one other funny snow trip. We left TV, and it was snowing like heck, and I called Eddie Marlin. I said, "Are we running to town tonight?" And he thought I was on drugs. I probably was at the time anyway, but and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I want to know if we're running tonight," and I told him our situation. So he said, "No, you're crazy." He said, "It's fine, it's fine." By the time we got, I think, to the 116 mile marker, it started snowing, and by the time we were at the probably the 143, Eddie called, "Town's canceled," and then Tommy Rich was with us on that trip, and that was an adventure trip as well. Do you remember that one?
I've been with Tommy so many times I can't. Yeah, probably I remember it. Then Jeff had a WWE booking, but we wanted to take advantage, and I won't name drop if it's bad feelings or whatever. Your future baby's mama back in the day, and you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. This is before your daughter Casey was born, but you guys and me and Tex Schlesinger and Road Dogg Jesse James, we went out to Jeff's house. He wasn't there, but Jill was. And we, for hours, we slid down that hill on Cumberland Hills Drive. I thought that was fantastic. Jill, Jeff's ex-wife, who was passed, she was out there with us too. She played.
We all played. Everybody but Tex. And what was he getting in later on? He'd never seen snow before. He stayed in the car the whole time. The whole time. Yeah. Scared of that. And, I'm rambling on just stuff that comes through my mind. But let me answer your question about how did I know. I just knew. And I saw not being pushed. You were having some of the best matches, if not the best match of the card. This had always been a tag team territory, and there had not been a money-drawing babyface tag team since the Fabulous Ones in the mid-'80s. So it's been 10 years. So I knew that was the team. And then when I got the book, I just knew there was no doubt in my mind. And this is what I say. I think what got you over is that 5 or 6 weeks in a row, and this got heat on me, but I had the end game in my mind. 5 or 6 weeks in a row, little bitty old Jamie Dundee, little bitty old Wolfie D, my little bitty Booker, Randy Hales calling what we're doing, 5 weeks in a row, and help me, Perry Saturn and John Cronus, the Eliminators, right?
Right.
That, beating them every week, even though you sewed like a son of a gun, they beat you up, you got your hand raised every time, that 5 weeks, that's what got you over. Then, what put you in the spot to draw money was phase number 2. Phase number 2 was the program with Tommy and Doug. That's maybe my favorite. Some of the stuff we did with Mama D and Papa D, and we can talk more about that later.
Going back real quick to the Eliminators, man. Dude, that was by the skin of our teeth, man. You say, we beat them every week and all that. And if you'll recall, they didn't really like that too much. And it was fresh out of Japan and, hell, man. And I remember a couple of times, knowing what was going on, I knew they were disgruntled about their pay and their, where they were living and then getting beat by us all the time. But they liked us. But at the same time, you know how Perry was, and then Cronus, he was just kind of like a little giant puppy, and you never knew, like, are these guys going to take this shit out on us tonight? Because they're already beating the shit out of us, sort of. But are they just going to snap one night?
Yeah, and do you agree with me that initially is what got you over by surviving that?
Yeah, and surviving is a great word, Randy.
Hey, Jimmy, I don't know how much you saw about the early days of PG-13. I'll flat out tell you, personal-wise, Jamie Dundee hadn't is not one of my favorite people in the world, or hadn't been in the world, but as far as a wrestler and as far as a tag team, PG-13 made me look like a genius. They were getting over their pay increase, but who did it make good? Because I certainly, my back was to the wall. I had Jerry Lawler come to me and say, hey, Randy, said, I saw a friend of mine, blah, 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 and they were in a bar, and they were saying, they were knocking PG-13, said people saying they're too little, they couldn't beat nobody. And I said, yeah, King, but how's business compared to what it was before I started pushing PG? And he had to say, it's up. I said, now Louisville and Nashville, Memphis was different because it was on Monday nights and we had to fight the Monday Night Wars eventually. But Louisville, and too, Wolfie, Louisville and Nashville both was doing the best business it had done in like 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
There's no doubt. And the most over tag team babyface side that we had since, as I said, don't want to repeat myself, but this is a strong statement, Jimmy. Strong statement. You have to go back to the Fabulous Ones to get a team that was more over as babyfaces than PG-13. You have to. I mean, there's none. I mean, PG-13 was over more than the Rock and Roll was in Memphis, period. I know people say, and I understand that they had a hell of a run in Mid-South. They had a hell of a run in WCW, and they're one of the greatest tag teams in the world. They had a hell of a run in Memphis as heels against PG that we'll get to. But I'm telling you that Rock and Roll was was not the money team. The Fabulous Ones were. The money team in this era of the USWA was PG-13. And again, it made me look brilliant. I just knew it would work, and they did. Neither one of them let me down, and they came through every time.
Hey, check this out. I'm going to bring this up. We're about to talk about two of our friends real quick, because I think you've heard of this. And if you don't want to talk about it, we'll edit it out. But did one of our friends, one of our very good friends, tell you that Ricky said that them putting us over killed Memphis? Have you heard this?
I told you that.
Okay. I thought Doug told me. But anyway, yeah.
No, I told you that Doug told me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, do you think he's
so really... Go ahead. Let's time out. Let's slow down. So and we'll just go ahead and say, name. You know, everybody has to know Ricky. Ricky is Ricky, and Doug tells me we have to know Doug too. Doug knows what can stir me up. So, this stirred me up because for Ricky Morton to say that what killed the Memphis territory is because Randy Hales had the rock and roll put over the PG put over, or rock and roll put over PG. See, I'm getting so excited and fired up about this. I'm stuttering and stammering, and I'm excited. He's saying that Ricky Morton said we killed the territory because they had to put over PG-13. It's a bunch of bull. It was the best business. That program was absolutely the best business had done in the Memphis territory in years. And you can throw the Jeff Jarrett in there. You can go Jerry Lawler in it. The main events in that era did the best business in absolutely years. But I 100% see Ricky believing that or saying that. I don't see him believing it. I see him saying that. And I see Doug just getting me fired up. I'm just getting the promo now. My blood pressure, I got to stop and take my medicine, man.
Well, Doug told me, he said, because we're supposed to see, all of us should be together, I think, on September the 11th. I think there's something in the works in Memphis. But so he said, when we see each other, I'm going to put Ricky in front of you, and I'm going to tell him to tell you. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be funny.
Yes.
That'll be funny. Just
Can you record that somehow?
Well, that'll be a special podcast. It'll be rated double R or some kind of thing. But that's funny. And you know, I got that with you guys. I got it a lot, but it came to a point probably in the middle of the Rich Gilbert program. I didn't get that anymore. And not every home run we hit with you guys will work. And I can name some, and I don't know if it's something I did. I don't know. It was something you believed in heavy, and I tried to go win it. It just didn't get over. Remember, at one point, Mephisto and Dante.
Right.
And you had great luck in the Independence. It just didn't work, and some makeshift teams, it didn't work. And also with Techno Team 10,000 or whoever they were, Bill Watt's son, and that thing didn't work. But overall, in a money situation with Rich and Gilbert and with the entire Smoky Mountain program, I'm real proud of that. As proud of that than anything I've ever done in wrestling.
And you know what I can say is that even though on some of those teams you named, I mean, the Gambler and Brick House, the Phantoms, Mephisto Dante, the Techno team, you know, there was some teams in there that we didn't have classic matches with. We didn't have a classic angle, but we were still able to keep ourselves over enough that when it came time for the right team and the right angle to come along again, we were still at that level.
Jerry Lawler didn't draw a house against his opponents every Monday. You would pretty much guarantee if you booked him against Terry Funk or Austin Idol or Jimmy Valiant or Bill Dundee, he would draw. However, sometimes you just get where you don't have a crew, and it became more difficult to get a crew once the expansion happened of the wrestling business. And certainly the territories were dying, and Memphis was the last surviving territory. And we were we would get talent because they thought it was a stepping stone to the big money, and I completely understood that. Or like Jamie and Wolfie or Doug or Tommy, they were from, or Brian Christopher. Brian Christopher would rather do Memphis TV than Monday Night Raw. He proved that in the Power Pro days. He would come home and get a rare day off. He would, many of TVs be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then at 1 o'clock catch a plane, and he wasn't getting paid. It was just, he was born to be a Memphis wrestler. And Wolfie, your background growing up watching wrestling. You watched all wrestling, but you grew up watching the Memphis Wrestling. You started at a young age, so you were a perfect fit, as was Jamie. And, you know, and I certainly, this is not going to be now, I might cuss Jamie or say something bad about Jamie, but the first time somebody else tells me that you guys didn't draw money, I take that real personal. Personal.
Right.
It's funny. Right. It's because I tell you too, and I agreed with him. We died laughing. We said, or he said, Randy's hotter about it than you are about what Ricky said. I started dying laughing.
Of course, Randy is that. That was my baby. You know.
No, I know. I mean, I know what you mean. I just thought it was funny.
And so, Jimmy, here's the deal: the USWA Smoky Mountain program kind of evolved. It evolved into that. The original idea, I tried for Memphis Memories 2 that ran on a Saturday to book Rock and Roll against PG. It might have been Wolfie's idea. I'm not sure, but that's what I wanted to do. And they were in Smoky Mountain. They were doing a taping. It was a Saturday show in Memphis, but the Sunday show, they were available for Memphis. And I knew from the get-go I wanted to go with PG. I wanted to go with Rock and Roll. I wanted PG over. It was in my mind going into that deal, it was going to be a one-shot deal. I was going to get have PG go over, and it would help their credibility, and we would go there. However, Wolfie came to my apartment, and he wanted input on the finish. He more modernized the finish. I think the final part of it, we did what I wanted to do, but Wolfie really added creativity, more of the new modern style. Now it would be from 20 years ago, so it would be the old style, but it was state-of-the-art finish type of thing. I typed up, and I gave it to Mr. Detail, Jim Cornette, and every one of them in that dressing room that day had blank stares. They'd never seen something like that. Certainly getting 5 typewritten pieces of paper with that finish. However, I asked Cornette, I said, man, do you have any dates on these guys? And if you remember this story, there was, he said, yeah, I can give them to you almost every Monday night, every Tuesday night, and every Wednesday night. If you want, very few Saturdays, but every once in a while I can get you on a Saturday. So we'd already given that finish, but I came to you and I said, I came to the group. I said, guys, I just got more dates on the Rock and Roll. We'll do the finish as planned. Ricky's wife, my future wife, Andrea, was there, and he had asked to involve her as the valet. They were obviously the heels, and I said, we'll do heat. We'll do a sneak attack, and I don't know if it was paint we did or what we did. I think it was paint.
I think she spray painted yellow on Jamie's back or my back or one of both of us. I don't remember. Yeah,
both of you. But so that guy played that on TV, and that match looked PG Rock and Roll in Louisville at Night to Remember. I mean, it was Jerry Jarrett sat with me in the bleachers watching the match. He had been away in the WWE, and he remembered you guys as the underneath funny tag team, but funny kind of means more money. We kept your personality, but we booked you in a main event way. And so when you guys came out, and I can tell you, and I'm going to let you elaborate and tell Jimmy and your audience after I tell them, but I'm telling them my feelings right there. That music hit. You guys came out, the building set up great. Spotlight was right on you, and you got up on the stage and did your little dance or whatever you did, and it was I'm sure it's one of the most thrilling situations you've ever been in. As the booker, it was thrilling to me to see that, and Jerry Jarrett's sitting right beside me, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but he just wasn't too much acting like he was interested. He was getting up to go. I said, no, you got to watch this match. He said, it is. I said, Rock and Roll PG? And he said, I've seen the Rock and Roll a million times, and I've seen PG. So he was pretty much saying, this ain't going to be anything special. I said, no. I said, you need to sit here and watch this match. And it came through. It was more than what I thought it would be, and I thought it would be great. I thought it would be the match of the night. I didn't necessarily think it would be the match that would be, I think, the best match I ever booked in my life.
Yeah.
The part one of PG and Rock and Roll. But then he was spitting in his cup to Dreadman, and he said, kid, what in the hell have y'all done with PG-13? I said, got him over, boss, got him over. So your feelings on that coming out party, and I would assume you agree with me, that was the real coming out. Couldn't have done it without Tommy and Doug, but the main event level, big time stars that people still talk about today was because of that match right there.
Yeah, and you know, obviously you could feel the difference of the overness, I guess you'd call it. They believed in us. They wanted us to win really bad. And I think Jamie and I, especially at the end, the one thing that I really remember is when the 3 count hit and we grabbed the belts and we basically are falling down with each other, hugging and so excited. And it was true emotion, obviously, but, you know, an over-the-top true emotion. But I thought we pulled it off so genuinely because, again, I feel that it was genuine that we had just won that really big match that, you know, I met Ricky Morton when I was, like 8 years old. He was at my apartment. So I don't know if I ever told you that story, Randy. I know Jimmy's heard it. And yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot to that, you know, a lot of layers there.
Here's the thing. And I don't talk to Jimmy. This is a difference. This is a different mindset of drawing money and not drawing money, whether it's a wrestler or a booker or whatever. This is the mentality, and this is an old saying, but it's actually absolutely 100% true. And with Jamie and Wolfie, and with me, and with the Rock and Roll, and with those people in that building, every one of them. Here's the saying. It's still real to us, damn it. It's still real to us, damn it. And that's what we portrayed. I've portrayed it by sitting in the back with Jerry Jarrett, admiring it. They worked their ass off. They're the guys that did it. You can be as brilliant and as creative as you want to, but you have to pass the ball, and they have to run the play, and they have to execute it flawlessly to draw money. And they did. That's just, I get as enthused and passionate about that moment now, Wolfie, than I ever have.
What you say about at a lower level on, you know, some indie shows and some things like that, I've like kind of helped book or helped do my own thing or, you know, stuff like that. And then obviously we couldn't help but to come up with ideas in the car, riding together and stuff. But man, just doing like some of the indie stuff, trying to give these guys something that in my head is like, how can they not get this right? Because for me, it would be something that just is second nature, blah, 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 blah. How could you fuck this up? And I don't mean just like a finish. I mean, just how to do the angle and how to get it over and the little things. It was so frustrating to me because it's like, I can't do every part of this and I want to because it would be better. You know what I mean? And you had people that could interpret what you were saying and make it happen, like you said, without flaws. We could execute what the plan was, you know?
I think it was, if you had when you're right people, do you think, and I don't want to knock somebody, but the T.E. Steels or we can go Ken Raper or even people like Gorgeous George III that we put in the situation when Doug's brother Eddie died and had George take Doug's place, and we had some great matches. But we had to, if it wasn't me telling him everything to do, like in a promo or being very detailed in the finish, then it was Tommy, and then it was you and Jamie leading through it.
Right.
Wolfie D was born to be a pro wrestler. Jamie Dundee was too. So, I gave you the push. You can give anybody a push. I gave a lot of people pushes that didn't get over.
Yeah.
It's being able to run the play, and so I absolutely, the biggest credit I take with the success of PG and the success, and I think it's a big deal that I was the one that gave you the big plays. You had been given plays. I'm the first person on television that built the company. Everybody knew that you were the guys, but you wouldn't have been the guys long if you wouldn't have executed. I just knew you would execute it. It was not risky. You asked how much guts did it take? It didn't take any guts at all, other than a normal thing. You always knew that if it didn't work, you can be replaced as a booker anytime. So that's why you have to have a good relationship. Not have to be friends with. Like I wouldn't friend with Jamie. He drove me nuts, but at the same time, I trusted him. I trusted him with the ball. It wasn't that I distrusted you, and I can guarantee you weren't pushed just because you rode on these strips of me. That wasn't it at all. Yeah. Because my livelihood was at stake. So if I didn't believe that you guys could draw money, or if, say, the first program wouldn't have drawn, I'd say if the Rich Gilbert program didn't draw, you would not have probably got the Smoky Mountain program later on.
Yeah.
Because my livelihood and everybody's payoffs, everybody's, even though none of us were making a lot of money, but they were making more money than they were 5 years before in that territory. You guys were doing pretty good. But that's a big responsibility on being on top, because if you don't get that, if you don't draw money, you're not going to be on top very long.
Right. That is a true statement. Jimmy, I feel like you're leaning back, you're soaking it in, and you got something good for Randy.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Randy, this has just been like I'm the rookie in the back, and I'm listening to you guys ride along the roads, and maybe we're passing a beer, a little Fernum or whatever. But the funny, about killed me with the A-class top of the line Fernum. That's not really fun. That about killed me, but that's another story for another day. Go ahead, Jimmy. Yeah, I want to talk to you. If I never need a wrestling announcer, I like your voice. We'll hire your ass, okay? Well, Randy, that means a lot. Thank you so much for that. That's I'm going to put that as the title of the episode. So
I'll hire your ass. Yeah.
So let me say something, and it's a two-parter. It's really simple, though. First of all, I have audio proof that Ricky said something different. So I don't know that what he said to Doug or whatever, I'm not getting into that. But there was on our episode number 5, people can go back. Ricky specifically says PG-13 kept USWA afloat while Jarrett and Lawler were in the WWF. So I'll play the clip on the show when it comes up to this time, but he did say that.
You know, when you keep a territory afloat, and you got to understand, this is after Dundee's gone. This is after Lawler's gone.
Yeah,
I think all them were gone.
Yeah, Lawler and Jeff were on both.
Yeah, they went to WWF, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes, and it was just us. And see, when you keep a territory afloat like that, that's accomplishing a lot.
Hell yeah.
So whether he disagreed with himself or just didn't want to say it to Wolfie, we'll not get into that. But
you have to send that to me so that when I see him, I can play right there.
Of course I will. You know I will.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
It's only a kick, a jump, a block. It's only a serve. It's only a tackle, a run. It's only for the fans. After all, it's only pressure. You got this. Adidas.
Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star? Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, bowiehomes.com. That's B-U-I-E homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Getting engaged is a moment worth cherishing. A one-of-a-kind ring that you design at Blue Nile can help your love sparkle. Just choose your diamond and setting. When you've found the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Finding the right engagement ring can be nerve-wracking. At Blue Nile, you'll have the expert guidance needed and a diamond guarantee that ensures you're getting the highest quality at the best price. Cherish all of life's moments and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
So the Smoky Mountain USWA feud. I was a kid from around Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia. So Smoky Mountain was my, main choice of wrestling after Crockett, and Smoky Mountain to me, I got to see a lot of the guys locally. I could go to my local high school and see them. What the first part of my question is was there ever going to be something, if the Smoky Mountain had lasted, was there ever going to be the opposite to where USWA would have invaded Smoky Mountain? And also, was there anything planned in that feud that you did not get to, basically? If that makes sense.
Well, first of all, to answer that question, that I said earlier, that it wasn't set in my mind that this would be a program. It just evolved. After the first week, Robert Gibson, I think, suggested to me, said, "Hey, man," said, "our referee Mark Curtis is a big wrestling fan, and he loves Memphis, and he would love it if he'll do it for free if he would referee." This was the first PG rock and roll match in Memphis. He said he would love it if he could referee the opening match. He'll do it for free. And then I said, no, we're not going to do that. And he gave me the biggest go to hell look because it just clicked in my head. I said, what we will do, first of all, he will get paid for it. What we will do, we'll announce him as the Smoky Mountain referee. We'll have him screw PG at the end and put him there. So the program evolved from there. We brought in different people, including Tracy Smothers was the big ad. We had Terry Gordy just later on, the Heavenly Body, just on and on and on. So it evolved. Buddy Landell came in. You're exactly right. On the other end, Cornette felt, and I think it might have saved Smoky Mountain. It might have saved it. And Cornette's going in his podcast, and he said he felt I was taking people that had already been over in our territory and incorporated them into this program with people that were over. He felt that the Brian Christophers of the world and the PG-13s and the Richards and the Gilberts, that maybe not so much Tommy because he had the national Atlanta run, but he didn't want to go full force with it. I did an angle where I was a heel and I went to one of their TVs, and I don't know, Jimmy, if you saw it, but I actually sucker punched Mark Curtis and ended up having a match in Knoxville with Mark Curtis. Obviously, he went over. We did one of my favorites, one foot of powder, and he kicked it in my face and scoreboard.
Yeah.
Certainly, he had called me. He wanted to do Hark and Runners and all kinds of crap, and I called Cornette, and I said, "Are you freaking crazy?" I said, I can have a match that people go crazy with a fight. Doing this wrestling crap and all the stuff he wants to do." So Cornette apologized and that sort of thing. But we brought PG in to a Knoxville show, and one big one was Shawn Michaels, I think, on the card. And Wolfie and Jamie and I made that trip together. They stayed over to work the next night. But so I think it could be successful. So Wolfie, throw that back to you. Do you agree with me that we could have saved that company?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I wanted that so bad. I wanted that to happen so bad, and I hate that it didn't. I'm with you, man. I think it would have worked because, hell, when we went there, we worked Tracy and Dirty White Boy that one time on that big show, and hell, we had heat like a motherfucker, and we ain't even been there. They knew what was going on. I know there wasn't a internet really happening, but I guess maybe word of mouth, something let those fans up there know that the Memphis guys are doing this to our guys down there, and here they come up here, and and we were Heavenly Bodies, and we were heels, and I wanted to do that so bad because it worked so well for us, and I was on the babyface end taking the ass whooping. I was ready to give one.
Hey, let me ask you another question, because here's a pet peeve of mine. Somebody does it. Somebody's there, and I want you to be honest completely. One of the things maybe Cornette had said on his podcast, and maybe just the fans have assumed it, but when everybody loves the Smoky Mountain, and we'll ask Jimmy what he's heard about this, but one of the things they say, this Smoky Mountain program with USWA was great. Jim Cornette and Randy Hales did a great job of booking that. So I wanted you to set the record straight and tell the viewers, tell Jimmy, tell the world who booked the Smoky Mountain USWA program.
Randy, you did. Unless there was some kind of secret phone calls between you and Cornette that I'm unaware of, that was all you and us, and everybody involved throwing in their ideas, and you mixing it into the casserole and baking the casserole, man.
And it was tasty.
That makes me hot. I think Cornette's brilliant. However. Yeah, and he did a great job with Smoky Mountain. However, it just, he about killed himself running that Smoky Mountain. He about went broke as well. It was all into that. Even the very first rock and roll PG-13 match, my idea, and it was a Randy Wolfie collaborative effort about to finish. Nobody else, me and you, unless you guys once. You got in the back, you tweak stuff. I don't think it was tweaked. Do you remember?
I can't.
But it was great stuff. So Jimmy, I'll put you on the spot. Who have you heard was mastermind of that program?
Well, I heard that it was all funneled down from, a secret. No, I'm just kidding. Randy Hales. I mean, if we're being honest, everybody knows it's you, brother. I mean, seriously, you got to take the props on that one.
And I was a big believer. Brian Christopher had input in his stuff. Of course, Jerry Lawler did. Bill Dundee did. Anybody. I think the worst mistake you can do as a booker, your end game plan, you have to lay out. But if you ignore the talent, if you ignore the guys out there with their ass on the line, shedding blood, if you ignore their ideas, you're hurting your product. So that's one thing that I try now. If somebody pitched something to me stupid, and believe me, I've got stupid ideas pitched to me, then you have to take the responsibility to say, no, we're not doing that. However, in that case, with everybody involved in rock and roll, and now, funny thing is, with rock and roll, I was a teenage, early 20s announcer when they had been here before. They left to Louisiana. They come back, and I'm the booker, so I don't know how much credibility I had with them, but they were treated with respect, and quickly, they wouldn't have wanted to come back. They didn't make money. We had them guaranteed, and they did make good money, and they were making more money here than they were in Smoky Mountain, so it worked out for all of us, didn't it? thinking, Wolfie, to ask you a question, to be the interviewer for just a minute, would you say in your career has gone all over and you've done new characters and done great with them, but would you say the highlight was that era we're talking about, the Smoky Mountain USWA feud? Was that when you felt you were at your hottest?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, Jimmy's heard me say this on here a number of times. The Memphis stuff means more to me. Yeah, I worked for WWE a little bit as a sidekick to Farouk, and took some bumps and wrote a rap and, came back as Slash a few times. They were looking at me, whatever. Worked at WCW, worked in ECW. But, man, Memphis is what I grew up on. Working the fairgrounds, when it was still there. I just recently worked there in that new building. It was odd. But just that building, and then Memphis TV and the Coliseum, of course, that means a lot to me, because we were
one of the things
highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that meant a lot to you meant a lot to me too, because basically you were a Nashville boy, but you were a part of a tag team. But when Jeff Jarrett returned from the WWF at the time, and I think this was in the 95, started 96, one of the matches that I booked in Nashville, and we had a hell of a house. To the best of my knowledge, this would have been the first time you were booked in Nashville as a single main event. It was for the Unified World Championship with Jeff Jarrett. Speak of that, if you have any, because that match meant a lot to you, and it meant a lot. It drew money, and it meant a lot to the people of Nashville. And your mama, bless her heart, rest in peace, God bless her soul, she was there cheering you on. That was a magical moment that could just happen in the territory.
Yeah, man, I wish we could find that somewhere on video, man. If it ever was on video, that would be one I like to have. There's a couple out there that I've never seen and probably never will. But yeah, and Randy, I'll be honest with you, I remember that happening. I really don't remember the match all too well, but I do remember it. I remember us building up to it, and it did mean a lot to me. And I don't remember. I know Jeff probably didn't put me over, but I don't remember what the finish was or how we did it or anything like that.
Now that's on me. That's my bad, because I'm sure he was back not for long, and so it was never in my mind to put you over for the sake of Nashville and the pop that would have been. I should have had Randy West ass there with the camera. I should have then put it on TV, and I should have and he would have done it. I should have switched.
That's what I was fixing to say. You think Jeff would have done it at that point?
Yes, absolutely. 100% think he was. Now, I don't know if I censored it. I'm thinking they'll just say the only reason to do that because they ride together. All the silly stuff we had to put up with. For years, but Jeff understood business and was admiring the fact of how you guys went from a mid-card tag team to main event guys, so he was all in. I should have done that. I don't have a lot of regrets, but that's one of them, because I think that would have elevated you. Because at the time, that was right before Brian went full-time. Not too far from him going full time, I just made the wrong call on that, because I think, who knows, that might have extended. No, they would have still brought Larry Burton in. I would have still been pissed off. I would have still quit. And honestly, after I left, they did some stuff with you guys, continued, but it just wasn't the same.
And the thing was there, man, is that, because I was going to bring this up earlier, you talk about how when we went from the to the main event, the houses came up, the numbers in the books don't lie. People can say what they want, but it also started going down when we went to go be the Nation of Domination and then came back and had to be heels on Memphis TV and doing the whole nation thing. And we're working for ECW and 3 companies at the same time. And honestly, we only worked a few days for the USWA weekends, ECW, Monday, Raw. And so I'm not saying it's because of us, but that's a pivotal point right there where it did start going down.
Yeah, and it's the same period when you guys came back, because I was, for God's sakes, in the nation of domination.
Yes.
Randy X, baby.
X. Here's the thing. I flaked out with some issues. I think somebody said something about cocaine a little earlier, and I talked honestly about it. Sins of the past. But I had to take a leave of absence. Waller took over the book, and I just certainly didn't tell him why I needed it. I said, man, I'm burned out. And I was burned out more than I was burned out. 3 years booking every single week and running the company. I was burned out. I had to get away. But
people don't realize what kind of work. People don't realize what kind of work that is, Randy. I mean, like you said, you're in towns every night. You're doing a lot of the booking in the car. You're on the phone, at different places. I know we were just getting you had the car phone, didn't use it that often.
Yeah.
At home all through the day before you leave for the town, because you went to every town basically. And a lot of bookers didn't do that. I mean, some did, some didn't. But then you're getting the tapes. You're making sure they get mailed to the right TV station in Evansville and Louisville and Nashville, and start it all over again. Start preparing for the next week, because you got 6 days to write another TV. So that's a lot of work.
The point you're making it. I'm glad you brought it up. The nation and the switching their heels. It wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have flaked out. If I wouldn't have gone away, that would have absolutely 100% never happened. It just wouldn't have happened. And it's sad what ended up in the USWA. Without the USWA, later on, Power Pro wouldn't have started, and you were a part of that. As far as not wrapping up this conversation, but wrapping the USWA, do you have any regrets of anything besides what we just said that we did wrong that might have hurt you guys? Any missteps?
No, I really don't. Of course, I guess if I went back and I looked at every single match and every single interview, I'm sure I could find some things to go, I personally on myself would probably be like, I should have done that different. I should have said that, or I shouldn't have said that in that interview. And quite frankly, sometimes I can look at myself and tell whether I was out all night the night before. So those are the types, I don't want to really look at and judge, but it's a part of it.
Well, the first thing I would do in my personal life, I would have never done cocaine. Second of all, and this is an absolute two, I would, and we just talked about it. I want to. As the more I talk about it on this long conversation, I'm thinking, damn, I missed the boat here. I missed the boat. But I should have switched that title to you that night in Nashville. Yeah. I mean, I absolutely should have. And with Jeff doing it, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he would have done it. I mean, no doubt in my mind. But absolutely. Yeah. It's just was maybe he figured the decal was finished, but I said, okay, you over, we'll do a screw. And he figured it. Maybe that's the truth. But he was pretty good, even though he's the owner's son, but he came in for a short run, so he did not try to dictate to me what I was doing at all. So we could have got that done, and so I think the two keys to the success of the run from 94, 95, 96 was two things: the elevation of PG-13. I think that's so important. But you also remember in March the 7th, 1994, for Monday Night Memories, before I even started booking and before PG started the run, the other big step that I did brought Lance Russell back to Memphis.
Yes.
I think that's a huge, huge, huge part. And here's one of my favorite things. We switched one of the greatest things we ever did. Probably a Tommy Rich idea. Certainly he had input in the thing. We had the Hills jump you guys. You were looking for a partner, and we did the deal where you were going to pay Tommy Rich to be your partner. He came out and basically stole money for you. That's one of the most things I'm proud of, folks. If you can find that on YouTube, it was great. But the performance from Lance Russell, even though Tommy was great and PG was great, everybody was great. Lance Russell, this was the key of getting stuff over. And Lance did a little thing after Tommy stole your money, Wolfie. Stole Jamie's money, laughed at you and walked up. And Lance just had the conversation. And I told him the story. I didn't tell him what to say, but I just don't understand this. So I know Tommy Rich since before he even started wrestling. The ironic thing here, he's a good family man. He really is a great husband, and he's a great father, and then raised his voice. But these two young kids that work their butt off and make their money, they can't just afford to just give away money like this when they need help. Good God, I'm just never been as disappointed in my life with somebody. That's how Lance Russell, Jimmy, walked. That's what he brought. I didn't tell him to say that. It was just the gut instinct. And that added the credibility. And another big part of that PG run was Russell. There's no way to not give Lance credit. And I think Wolfie will be one of the first to. I think everybody I've given credit, like Tommy and Doug, great. And I think I like that program better than the Smoky Mountain USWA program because I like family shit and bringing Mama D in, Papa D in, Mama Rich in. It was great stuff. I love that deal. Lance Russell just put us over the top. Do you agree, Wolf?
I agree, man. Some people say Gordon Soley, some people say JR. I say Lance Russell, man. And yes, I grew up on it, but like you said, he had a way. He knew the moves, but he had a way of just making it in layman's terms and hitting those, like you said, pulling on those heartstrings sometimes, or getting mad when he needed to get mad, or feeling frustrated, but always staying, pretty much unbiased. But obviously he would get frustrated with the heels, but that My philosophy real quick, I think, since you grew up in Georgia or in Florida, people watching would say, man, Gordon Soley is my wrestling announcer. Now, the difference is the people growing up in Memphis would say, Lance Russell, he's my friend. That's the difference. Yeah.
They thought he came into their living room via TV every single week, and it was Grandfather Lance, Brother Lance, Uncle Lance. It didn't matter. He was a part of your family. And to me, that's what sets him apart from anybody else. JR's great. A lot of people. Dave Brown is great. I mean, absolutely
I was
great.
just fixing to say, I feel that there's a thing that, Dave was no Lance. They were a team, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like Gordon Soley was by himself. And you kind of associate King and JR together a little bit. But they were like a little team, man. And they played off each other. And they were like, in fact, Dave's giving you your weather every night. And then you see him on Saturday mornings on wrestling. Like you said, with Lance, he's your friend. So, yeah, those guys, man.
Yeah,
and I think it was just a fantastic thing. Man, Absolutely. You told me you needed 30 minutes, and I knew with me and you together on this conversation, there's no way we could do it in 30 minutes. And I think Jimmy has more stuff he wants to talk about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the USWA ended. And then, a couple months later, you had Power Pro. So from 98 to 2000, in that time frame of Power Pro, the amount of names that you had coming in there to put on some great shows. That this is the first time that I really started, and I know this is backwards, but I had to watch the USWA stuff through tape traders at local shows and stuff like that. But the Power Pro stuff was really where I first picked up on true real-time Memphis wrestling. So just, talk about, I guess, with Power Pro, where do you think it could have gone had it worked out, essentially?
Well, the first thing that I'll admit, and I'll say to you, by the way, in the Power Pro run during the whole time, I was 100% straight. So I don't have any excuses that I was doing silly stuff. I was 100% straight. I'll be completely honest with you. I am a better booker, better creative guy, better announcer, everything than I am a businessman. I think I made choices business-wise that I do regret, and obviously it was a political. We started out basically house show business, but we had TV revenue. Then when we got the very first WWF developmental area, I don't think I politic. Believe it or not, everybody knows Jim Cornette doesn't politic, but he politics for a long time with the WWF. And I regret I didn't. If I didn't give a shit what they said, they were paying me money. I had a bad attitude to theirs. So the first run of developmental guys in Power Pro, Sean Stasiak and Matt Bloom, who runs the developmental center now, it's Baldo here. He did a great job. We had Kurt Angle. We had Daniel Bryan as the American Dragon. I think if there wasn't the firing or the quitting or whatever it was, the Jerry Lawler because of the cat, and I had the choice that I was given, that if I wanted to keep the deal, I couldn't use Jerry Lawler on my television. And it was toward the end of my run or my contract, and I thought Lawler's more value. So I went with Lawler instead. But I think if Power Pro would have continued, I think it was a 3-year deal, and they had plans. TV stations, the lifeblood of their income is the news. They wanted the wrestling studio. That's what killed. Nothing else was deciding. The news people wanted the wrestling studio. That's the true reason it went out. If it didn't go out, you tell me. Because I'm telling you, look at the next era of guys in developmental, don't you, that went to Louisville. They obviously would have been more benefit to do the live TV in Memphis. We'd have had Randy Orton. We'd have had John Cena. We'd have had Batista. It goes on and on and on. So I think where it would have gone, and I think that if I would have got smarter business-wise as a businessman, I think it could still be going today, and with the backing of a AEW or a WWE, I think we would have had that long-term success for sure.
Oh, man.
I'm real proud of the 154 shows, the 3 years we did. We did the only live, remote, in primetime wrestling program in the history of local wrestling in Memphis when we did Rumble on the River at Tom Lee Park downtown, 4th of July, 1998. Again, Wolfie came in. I'm real proud of the stuff that when we debuted him, made it personal. As he came in after I was refusing to put Doug on things. Just so I have fond memories of Power Pro.
Who owns the tape library, if you don't mind me asking?
I do.
Oh,
100%.
Randy, that is amazing. Yeah.
And I've tried to negotiate with the WWE before. I haven't got it done at all. I do a watch party on all my social media, Randy Hales on Facebook and at RB Hales on Twitter. It's a real good looking show. I do Mondays and Tuesdays, the Power Pro show. We're on this next week. It'll be, I think, show number 22, 23, something like
That's awesome.
I have fun with that. And I'm very proud of Power Pro, and I'm glad that I was told that you want to talk about Power Pro. I'm very, very, very proud of it.
You should be. It was an amazing product, and I agree. The sky was the limit on that one. To me, there's so much that modern guys could learn from watching that 3 years, those 154 episodes. Seriously, the storytelling, doing so many things. I mean, you had Kurt Angle, you had Rock, you had The Rock, you had the No-Eyes, you had the 3-minute warning team before they were that. You had so many great guys coming in there that some are even unfortunately gone now. But those 3 years, you guys, I mean, seriously, it felt like you were almost about to land on the moon, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? You were going to colonize a new company,
Yeah, I take this. I needed somebody handling the business in. I'm just creative, but to let that person stay away from the creative part. But my philosophy, and I'll see if Wolfie agrees, because this is what I tried to do with Power Pro, and it was about a year in before he came in. That's a long story. Anyway, my philosophy that Power Pro Wrestling was Memphis Wrestling with a new twist. Old school with the new twist was basically my philosophy. Wolfie, do you have any memories of that? Do you think I'm right on that? A new look Memphis Wrestling.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just a more updated look. I mean, not a whole lot, but I mean, you were trying to take a little bit of the
past.
Old school, the old school less polish. You're trying to polish it up a little bit to make it look more modern.
Right.
Now, Buddy Wayne didn't like my stuff.
Who?
I'll tell you that, Wolfie. Buddy Wayne.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, come on. He didn't like the direction we were given. At times, Bill did not either. But I was watching you're doing a segment that will conclude this about modern wrestling. But here's the thing that I knew watching WCW Nitro, and I knew watching Monday Night Raw and the start of the Attitude Era and all that. It wasn't Granddad's wrestling no more.
Right.
I knew you would have to evolve it. We did a thing with Tony Williams, Kid Wicked, kind of. We'd have him talk about shoes and gimmick and old people and all that kind of stuff, and it got over. But yeah, I'm very happy watching these shows back. And Jimmy, it's on my. Why don't you send me a friend request, and you can watch the show on Monday night, and we'll give the inside stuff. The Tuesday show, Talking Memphis Wrestling, with Michael St. John and a couple other guys. Mm-hmm. We had Lance Russell's son, Shane, a guest on the show last night. There was absolutely fantastic. So, Jimmy, just send me a Facebook request. Follow me on Twitter, and you can watch the stuff.
I love it. I will do that. I'll be there for sure. And I really feel like, this leads it in. We always try to go naturally on this show. So with that being said, let's talk about current affairs. DJ, hit the music.
It's a current affair. It's a current affair. Love it in color. It's a current affair.
All right, we're back with current affairs on this very special 1-year birthday episode with one of our golden guests, one of the guests that we've wanted from the start, the third member of PG-13, Mr. Randy Hales. And Randy, again, we thank you so much for being here. To start it out, this question of current affairs, obviously everyone is talking about it. Vince McMahon. So the Vince craziness continues. Basically, allegedly, $12 million to at least 5 to 6 women in hush money to keep, allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity over last 16 years. Even a female wrestler was involved. And, I don't want to get into too big of a specifics, but do you think he survives this, I guess, Randy? And then talk a little bit about your thoughts of this.
That's a hard question, in 99% of corporate America, he wouldn't survive it. Absolutely. He would have been gone when the first allegation came out. Absolutely 100%. I'm not into the stock market. I'm not into public companies knowing much about it. But what I hear that happens, he still owns 80% of the Class A stock,
right?
Which is the vote, the votes that means the most. He has 80% of it, and probably altogether with the controlling the stock in the votes. So, do I think he survives? I think that, honestly, corporate America, like I said, he wouldn't survive at FedEx. He wouldn't survive at Apple. He absolutely not. And even though this was always the wild, wild west, once you go corporate, it's not wild, wild west. But I really don't think, in the last of Vince McMahon, I think he, unless the stocks go down, which it hadn't. Now, if the stocks go down, different situation. But right now, I don't think he'll do it himself, say, best off for the company. If I just walk away, I sell my stocks, I do this. I don't think, because this is all he does. Absolutely. He's 76 years old. It's all he's ever done.
Right.
I don't think he'll step down again unless the stock crashes. That I don't see it. If it hadn't happened, it's not going to happen. And I don't see them able to do it themselves. I don't think they can get rid of it. I really don't, unless it's proven that he's done something illegal. And I'm not seeing anything illegal. Was it bad choices? If some of the stuff's true, like use corrosion, using his power for sexual favors and whatever's out there that I don't know if it's true or not. I absolutely don't know. But if he did do that, then he paid money to have the person go away. Anybody that was hurt in the matter, I hate that. And the fact that people online is, they got money, they got paid. Well, I'm glad they got paid because that's a traumatic thing. So, it's one of those things. I'd like to hear Wolfie's thoughts on that. And he said at the beginning he wants to shoot with this, the true feelings. And so my feelings is I don't think he's going nowhere, because I don't think it can happen with the stock. I think it's unprofessional. Do I think probably it's time for somebody else to take over? Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I pretty much agree with everything you said. I don't know about the stocks and all that kind of stuff, but again, it's Vince, man. And like the main thing that's happened from what I understand, and I haven't followed it too closely. I'm not into it like I was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but he hasn't done anything criminal, and he did pay these people, and they accepted that money. So, I don't know, man.
Right.
Like you said, I ain't condoning shit. I'm just saying it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I gotta say, we're going to go off subject real quick. We're talking about professionally, one of my proudest moments. Jimmy, I'm going to tell you the most emotional and funnest and still affects especially Wolfie today, and that memory will never leave my mind. We had a show in Louisville on a Sunday night, and it was a blow off to the Smoky Mountain USWA thing. Wolfie's lady was pregnant, was having a baby, but this is what a pro this son of a gun is. He met, or I went by the hospital and picked him up. We went to Louisville. Frank Morrell.
Well, I drove from somewhere up around where I live now. I drove on the Daniel Boone Parkway I think we were doing Smoky Mountain that night or something. And I drove because their water broke. And I drove from way up there all the way to Nashville in our car, IROC.
fucking 100 miles an hour with the flashers on, dropped her off at the hospital, and then I don't know if I picked you up or whatever, but I know some kind of way I sped back to fucking, I guess with you, I don't know, and then you sped back to Louisville and made it, and then she was born
and then I remember when we got. Here's the thing, and I want everybody to know. Some people have it, some people don't. Does it seem a little like maybe the girl, maybe that's why you're not with the girl, because you chose you were having a baby, but you were booked in the main event of a blow-off program. You wasn't going to miss that for nothing.
Right.
So you did, and we drove 100. I remember calling Lawler and telling Lawler what the house was. It was, about $20,000 on a Sunday after noon, and I told him, and then I told him about Casey, and he got on the phone and congratulated you for the having the baby, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's funny, all the millions of miles I put on the road, if they say spotlight a trip that will live with you for your whole life. I know I think this humanizes Wolfie to the audience. He sacrificed being there at the hospital in case he was born, but busted his ass, and we busted every law and known to man as far as driving's concerned to get him there. And I walked in the room, so Wolfie, I don't know if you remember that. The first time you saw Casey, I saw Casey.
Right.
I walked in the room,
and I'm gonna go real deep on this to just let people know, because like you said, man, like in today's day and age, most people would not think of doing something like that. They would take their, most of the wrestlers
they'd be crucified. They'd be crucified.
Yeah. And so just recently, within the past year, I'll say, my daughter she knows of that story, and she really has a big resentment towards me for it. And
did I force you to do it, or did you want to do it? Did I make you do it?
No. No, I knew I couldn't miss that. But as I've tried to explain to her, it was a different time, Things were different then, and I was doing what I thought was right. That was how I put food on the table.
Yeah,
and that's what I had to do. You like you said, people paid money to show up for a big match, and they want, because that was a big show. I forget, it wasn't the big Louisville show, but it was a Louisville show that was.
It was a blow off. It was a blow off on the program in Louisville. Outdrew Memphis. It really did.
Yeah.
Louisville outdrew Memphis. That's how hot we were in Louisville.
And I couldn't no show that, and I knew it.
Right.
And like I said.
Well, I hate it that, and I haven't seen her since the day she was born. Not one time. Things change in life.
Yeah.
Changed. We live in different parts of the world. Memphis Wrestling went away. So I hadn't. If I ran into her downtown Jonesboro, I wouldn't have known. She doesn't know who I am, because she's probably have watched the tapes. She doesn't know me as an old man. I'm 60 years old.
Yeah.
But I would not know her. Wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
That's something I thought was important
for sure.
To say, and a real cool deal. But I like this segment we're doing. This is fun.
Well, okay, cool. So I got one that I want to hear your true and honest opinion on this one. So recently, as we all know, wrestling fans who watch network TV, there has been a very popular TV show on about the young days of the biggest Hollywood star, as we all know, called Young Rock. So, Wolfie and I, we've talked in depth about the USWA scenes. When it was on, I was squinting really hard to see PG-13 somewhere in there, but unfortunately they didn't make it in there. But what were your thoughts of the USWA episodes of the Young Rock?
I didn't watch but one or two of them, to tell you the truth. It's just I'm kind of caught up. I'll watch AEW on Wednesday. I'll watch the big WWE premium events, but I didn't watch much of the deal. So I can tell you that my vivid memories of the time The Rock was in here, Jim Ross was the talent relationship guy, and said, "Hey, Randy," said, "we've signed Dewey Johnson. And back then, everybody called him Dewey. And I had known him since he was just a young man in the probably mid 70s, coming to the matches with his dad, Rocky Johnson, and say we've signed Dewey, and I knew Dewey had played football, and I knew that he was athletic, and I knew he was a natural. I've always liked second generation wrestlers. He said you have a spot, and we were unofficially developmental. We would work in relationship with the WWF, and I went crazy. I said, "Oh yeah, well, thank you." I said, "I'll have some hills jumping, and then we'll have Rocky come in and do a father and son team and draw some money." And he said, "Oh no, Randy, you can't do that." I said, "Why can't we do that?" He said, "Vince has a name, and he said that it will be the biggest star in the history of wrestling." Now, it's arguable, but I'll argue on the right side, especially mainstream with the movies, he is the biggest star. But Vince had a name, and the name that I was forced to call him, I'll say that in a minute, but I couldn't refer to the fact that he was Rocky Johnson's son or High Chief Peter Mavia's grandson. I couldn't acknowledge that at all. He was just Flex Cavana.
Right.
So I'm just thinking right now, those days, and he was a natural. I'm not saying I knew he'd be the hottest movie star in the world in the Attitude Era, the run he had. I'm not saying that, but I knew he would be a big star someday, just not at that level. But I regret, if you ask me, USWA regret, one of the regrets was I was forced to call freaking The Rock Flex Cavana, and then they saw that it didn't work. I mean, the people didn't click with it, and even though we put him with Bart Sawyer, and they were the USWA Tag Team Champions, and we did give him a push, and he ended up dropping a loser leave town match on TV to Jerry Lawler on his last show. I think we could have done so much more.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear Wolfie's opinion on that.
Man, the first night that me and Jamie were the Cyberpunks and he came in, Union City, Tennessee, this is Rocky Johnson's son, blah, blah, okay. So we're out there, and I'm pretty sure it was one of those no dressing room connected buildings back in the day. And
it was in Kenner, Missouri, Wolf, and I wasn't there.
You sure?
I'm sure, because
okay.
I'll tell the story. If you're not going this way, you called me or Jamie called me when you got back to the motel that night. But still, I'm getting ahead of your story. Go ahead.
Well, just saying, because you thought he was, I'm queuing again. The listeners will have to deal with me snacking. This has been a long episode.
You knew it would be with me, man.
So I lock up with him, and I call something that ended in me hip tossing him, and he, probably tackle drop down, something stupid, and I give him the hip toss, and he puts his right hand on the mat and does like a cartwheel and lands on his back. And I walked over to Jamie and I said, "I thought y'all said this was Rocky Johnson's son." I said, "He's fucking terrible." That's the rib there.
And here's the thing. I guess it was you and not Jamie, because Jamie didn't make a habit of calling me, and I certainly didn't call him a lot. So I guess it was you that called me, and I was at home, and you said, "Hey, do you got Flex Cavana? Do you got Dwayne on TV?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You need to change it, and you need to change it quick." He said, "He is horrible, and you don't need to put him on your TV." I think. Do you remember that, Wolfie?
No. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I just don't recall that part.
Yeah, and I said, "Well, I have him booked against Tony Falk. It'll be fine. It will be fine." Yeah. And again, he did a fine job and got it quick, I thought. Was he great at that time? No, he was not. But I think he was on his way to being great.
Yeah,
right.
Started, I'm sure, none of you at the point, you were a natural. I think Brian Christopher was a natural. Jeff Jarrett was a natural, even though over the years, all three of you progressed, absolutely progressed. All three, two of the guys, Brian and Jeff, second generation wrestlers, and Dwayne is. Wolfie certainly might as well been a second generation wrestler. He was raised in the thing, but I had every confidence he would be successful in this business for sure. But and I never saw the fact that I didn't see that match, and maybe if I was in attendance and saw that, I might have pulled him off the TV if it was as bad as you say. And you weren't one to knock. You really weren't. And for you, I was concerned because I think I can't think of another time you called me and told me to take this person off of your TV.
God, I'm awful.
But I'm 100% sure you did that. 100%.
Yeah.
Wolfie D tried to get The Rock banned from television.
I mean, that's the headline right there. Well,
you get good shit with me.
Yeah.
You wonder, I'm a little hot now. I'll cut a little program because a big factor in the early days of Wolfie D is me, obviously, because I'm the guy. He had the words, that had the balls or the guts or whatever to push PG-13 when nobody else had, and I'm the one that put my ass on the line to do that. Then he is. I think we put that in evidence early in the show. I think that's already in. I think that's already in evidence. Now I am just saying that my feelings are hurt. I cannot believe it, even though he's said to me several different times. We're 50 shows in? What number show is this? Do we know?
This is technically 53, so it's a start of a new. We do it weekly every Monday. So, yeah.
So we're 53 weeks into this dang program, and I'm not important enough to get a show. I have to wait 53 weeks. And I know what you're trying to tell me. You're trying to say we save your story for the last once we establish. I know what you're going to con me on.
It's going to be even better than that. What I'm telling you is now we actually have more listeners than we did at the beginning. So more people are going to hear this. Right. And also we started a YouTube channel where the podcasts go on audio only at first. And now we're starting to add some of our back episodes, kind of like the Cornet still shot, but the whole show on YouTube for people that like to do it there. So we kind of broadened our audience a little bit too. So that's a good thing in regards that they're going to listen to this, and your listeners or my listeners will probably go listen to you, and vice versa. When you tell everybody on your podcast that you were just on my show, and tell them to come listen to me. It's a win for everybody.
Now let's do some business here. Now, I am doing this show. I'm still in this line from my old Jimmy Dean line on Statler Brothers Farewell concert. Jimmy Dean comes out and he said, I am doing this, people, gratis. What that means is I'm doing this for free. Now, then Jimmy Dean then says, now I want you ladies to all remember I'm doing this gratis and I'm doing this for free, but I want you to remember of course, Jimmy Dean of Jimmy Dean Sausage. I want you to remember the name Jimmy Dean when you ladies go to the grocery store and buy sausage. Now, I don't sell sausage, but I do programs on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I want you, and this is what I would like to, the best bet is Facebook, Randy Hales on Facebook, also on Twitter.
Thank you so much for being a part of the team here today with us, Randy. Obviously, you have an open door to come back at any time, so thank you so much for that. Wolfie, take us out, brother.
Yeah, man, and I'm eating again as I take us out.
That's not very professional.
I'm fixing to cook up something really good to eat because I done worked out once today. I'm going to go again, but I haven't really eaten much, so I'm starving to death. So anyway, folks,
thank you for listening to this 1-year birthday of Live and in Color with Wolfie D. We thank Randy Hales so much for being on today. We could go for hours with this stuff, and like we said, he's got an open door to come back and we can talk some more. And I'll probably go on his show very soon, so keep a listen out for that. For Wolfie D, Jimmy Screet, and Randy Hales, this is Wolfie D saying so long.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is The Big Picture, Michael Jablonski. Don't forget to tune in every week to Jablonski's Pissed Off on the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling YouTube channel.
The hot's wrong in this sport. He's gonna tell you all about it. He doesn't care what you think. You're gonna hear all about it. Mike Jablonski. He's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski. He's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski. He's so pissed off. He's pissed off.
If you're a pro wrestling fan, there's something for everyone at the Cheap Heat TV Podcast Network. From the Pro Wrestling Discussion Show, Cheap Heat TV Live, to the interview show, the Jackson Interaction Podcast with the king of all wrestling media, Gene Jackson, to the silliness of the Whitey Jenkins Show, and the brand new Zip, Xander's Irresistible Podcast with Charles Anders. You can check them all out and much more over at cheapheattvlive.com.
If you're a fan of rock and music, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to check out my podcast. It's called the Decibel Geek Podcast. We've been doing it for about 10 years now. We talk about Kiss. We talk about Ozzy. We talk about Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Metallica. We talk about all the legends from the 60s and on, up to brand new bands that you should be hearing about today that you're not going to hear on the radio. It's Decibel Geek. Wherever you find your podcasts, you'll find us there. If you love rock and roll, I can almost guarantee you're going to love my show.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at Warren Wolf 13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Live Wolfie D. And then on YouTube at Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. Our website is anchor.fm/WolfieD. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. Also, do you have a product or business you'd like Wolfie D to talk about? Let us know about it by leaving a recorded message over at anchor.fm/WolfieD/message. Leave your name and contact info and we'll get back to you. Once again, that's anchor.fm/WolfieD/message. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for you, don't. He got a cap for you, don't. I got a cap for you, don't. He got a cap for you, don't. He got a cap for you, don't. man, here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color, bum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are, without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. When I finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.